Good morning, everybody. This is Carrie Getz with Strategicom, and we're here with another edition of our podcast series. Today, we're lucky enough to be interviewing Juli Ierulli. Juli is the e-commerce marketing manager at Caterpillar. She was the marketing director for 7x24Exchange, but more recently, she's been elevated and is now a vice president of 7x24Exchange International. And she was instrumental in starting the WIMCO portion of 7x24, which is the Women in Mission Critical. And so really that's what we're here to talk to Juli about today. So welcome, Juli. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Juli Ierulli, and as Carrie said, I work for Caterpillar in marketing, and just currently I am handling e-commerce, customer support, and operations for Caterpillar, some of their new e-commerce ventures, so that's exciting. But what I really want to talk to you today about is my relationship and engagement with 7x24 and what I've been doing in that arena. So I've been with 7x24 for over almost about 10 years now. And I started off with them as their vendor representative. And actually, even just becoming part of the board was an interesting adventure. I was working at Caterpillar in their electric power division at that time. And I was handling the marketing for them as it relates to the 7x24 conference. And the unique thing about 7x24 is that the board of directors frequently meets twice a year at the conferences with the vendors and is always open to meeting with people in the industry who attend the conference. We always want to hear what folks have to say and how we can better the organization. And part of that is they have a vendor meeting, and each time they would have the vendor meeting, Bob would always ask, so what could we be doing differently to, market and support the organization? Well, I always had a lot to say, and a couple years after participating with them, they invited me to be on the board. So that was an exciting opportunity, and I was the first female that they'd had on the board. So I really felt honored to be part of the organization and was really looking to, focus on women, because both CAT and 7x24 and just the data center industry itself and the tech industry are very male dominated. And I noticed that the first time that I ever went to 7x24, and there was a breakout session and there were 75 people in the room and myself, and I was the only female. Since then, that's over, about a 10 to 12 year period of time, I've seen a rapid change, or at least an ongoing and evolutionary change to that. And so I'm very excited about that. And that is one of the things that got me interested in starting WIMCO.
Let's just tell everybody a little bit about 7x24Exchange and the organization as a whole.
Okay, 7x24Exchange is a non-for-profit organization, and I really think that's key because a lot of the organization and the people in organizations that put on data center conferences are for-profit. We are one of maybe the only non-for-profit that's in this realm, and we've been around a long time. And, I really think that speaks to the fact that the organization itself is always striving to share information and improve the industry itself. It's all about sharing knowledge and helping the industry advance collectively. We have what people would typically consider competitors really be part of the conference and speak at the conference, because again, what we're really looking for is enabling the industry to advance. And I think that's a unique thing. We also are not a pay-to-play organization, meaning, we really look at what we think would be good for the industry, and we hold 2 conferences a year. And the board is an active working board. People who are on the board actively help decide what's going to be in the conferences and what we think is important to the industry and sharing at those conferences and what would provide the most value for our members and the attendees.
WIMCO being a piece of that, there's also a chapter component. And one of the cool things about 7x24 is if you don't have a chapter in your area, you can visit the other chapters as you travel, which I've done quite a few times. And each of the individual chapters are also starting individual WIMCO chapters as kind of subgroups of the chapters. And it really gives women a chance to get together and, support each other and network, which is, something that women, I think, need to do more of in this industry, really just step up
Carrie,
and advocate
I really agree
for
with
each
that.
other.
And the chapter piece of 7x24 is very important. It provides regional support and information sharing for those all over the U.S. And then we also have chapters internationally. And then within the chapters, as you were saying, there are WIMCO communities. And one of the great things about WIMCO, and one of the things that I was looking for when I started this, was that I wanted to have women have an opportunity to be in leadership positions, to take on new challenges, be seen in the industry, and then really have that camaraderie of more women around them. Because, there's still a different dynamic when it's, male dominated and you might be the only female in the room. And it's not that it's a problem, but there's a difference. And it's nice to, just be in a different position, or at least for a period of time. It doesn't have to be at every event or every breakout session, but having a group of women around that are in the industry is a nice to have. And by having the WIMCO subcommittees and chapter communities, it provides women an opportunity to be seen and speak, but it's an additive feature. It's not taking away from anything that currently was there before. So it's just expanding on what's there. And it's really creating new energy to both the international organization and then also the chapters, because they're just adding to the people who can help support and provide a different view and perspective. And we know that that's been seen over and over again to provide enhancement for all organization when women are a part of the leadership.
Oh, absolutely. And that whole diversity piece in and of itself, whether it be, through female thought leadership or, bringing on young kids, bringing on different people that historically haven't been in an organization, has been just proven literally time and time again to be an absolute game changer for company culture, more profitability, just on and on and on down the line. And it's a lot easier to be a woman in the industry when you have some other like faces, just like, trying to recruit young people into this industry. It's easier if they see role models that are in some of those roles.
The things I really see that WIMCO will be a part of as we expand, and we're really looking to grow in the coming years as it relates to engagement with both women and then men as advocates for not only the association, but then also in the International Data Center Day initiative, which is, as you were saying, Carrie, people need to see themselves and think of themselves as being able to be something. And the more they see someone like themselves or who they view as like them, the easier it is for them to see themselves in the future that way. So International Data Center Day was created to attract new talent and really reach out to younger ages, all the way down from grade school activities up through college, and telling them about scholarships and then mentoring as professionals. So that is one of the ways that I think that WIMCO going forward will definitely play a key role in. And then as we expand, there'll just be even more opportunities for women within 7x24 and then really within the industry itself.
Let's chat a little bit about International Data Center Day. So the first one was last year. The next one is coming up here in March. Is that correct?
That's correct. There is a website, and there's lots of materials and things for people to engage with. Carrie, I don't know if you have some place that we can post that.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we'll put those links in with this recording.
Okay, we'll give you the link. It's coming up very quickly. But really, one of the things that I was hoping this year, we launched it at the conference last year, really to just kind of give it that lift on the initial start. But I'd always want to think about it as, we'd like to see everyone in the industry introduce one person who doesn't know about the data center industry, and whether that the one is a collective one of, having someone go out to a school or a Boy Scout troop or a Girl Scout troop, is, it can be a group of ones, or even just individuals. Maybe it's someone who may be looking for a job change and introducing them to the industry. So I think this year, one of the things that we're focusing on is how do we get people to do something? There really is the power of one, and we're hoping to see that happen in the industry itself as a grassroots effort.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies out there that are putting out little videos. What is a data center? And when I started in this industry way too many years ago, we didn't even really call them data centers back then. They were computer rooms, or they were compute centers or something. And, somewhere along the line, it came up as a data center. And all of these kids are so connected. But I don't think they realize that data centers is where all that data lands. And honestly, in any given city, you can't stand downtown and look around without seeing data centers everywhere. We hear that phrase, there's an app for that, and people don't realize that that app and all of the data that it collects sits in a data center somewhere.
Right. Absolutely. I think sometimes people don't realize that data center, we hear the cloud. People always talk about the cloud. The cloud is essentially a data center someplace else. So it's unique to me that we have this entire industry that really supports the infrastructure of our daily lives with all of our videos and social media and just all the things that we do, and people don't know about it, and just that the financial opportunities that are available. You don't have to have a 4-year degree for positions. There are, other jobs, and there's such a wide variety of people and jobs within the industry. And that's one of the things we're highlighting with International Data Center Day as well. So it'll be exciting to watch that move forward.
It is one industry that honestly touches everything. Like you said, there's trades, there's anything from electricians and plumbing to construction management, and then obviously coders and people that do networking configurations and computer configurations and run the data centers. There's a whole nother sector that deals with just sustainability. There's kind of not anything you can go into really that isn't applicable in this industry. I mean, there's even some data centers that have chefs on site.
Right. And everything from real estate to construction, and people always ask me, well, what does Caterpillar have to do with a data center? A lot of people don't even realize that Caterpillar handles generators, that we sell them and service them. And that makes up a great, backup power is significant for a data center. So yes, there's just a wealth of different opportunities that you can find in association with a data center.
Now, with software-defined power and the ability to control where your power load goes, generators really show some promise for areas where power gets really expensive during certain times of the day, or like, the wildfires in Northern California where they just cut off the power grid.
Right. They're really insurance, and what's unique about that is that really I came from State Farm, from the insurance and financial industry, and somehow wound up in electric power. And one of the things I remember when I interviewed with the marketing director was, he asked me, he's like, Julie, so why electric power? And really, power is all about backup power, is really an insurance policy that when the power goes out, CAT will be there to support you. But there's just a lot of different industries, I think, that people could be engaged with and come into. So really, International Data Center Day will expand on that and get that younger audience engaged.
Which is important because most of the younger audience doesn't even know what a data center is or what those career opportunities are.
Right. And what's unique is really at our conferences and from our membership, we've been hearing for quite a while now that, we're quickly headed to a personnel shortage as our key professionals, our oak trees are set to retire in the coming years.
I want to be one of them.
Yes, we want to be an oak tree. But really, just someone who has that longevity in the industry and the expertise. Really, the data center industry has a lot of those great people. And, we're coming up upon the time frame. Well, I think it's within the next 10 years that 65% are ready to retire. So it's going to be critical to attract that talent. And we know that. And it's really something that we focused on at 7x24 and really trying to help in that vein.
And so the individual chapters, I know several of them are doing individual WIMCO events outside of the chapter events that are some of those outreach things you're talking about, going out to schools, Girl Scout troops, different things like that. So if people want to get more involved, there's links to the WIMCO site from the regular 7x24Exchange site. And it's just a matter of registering and finding, like-minded people.
Yeah, so what's nice is there is a calendar of events located on the 7x24Exchange site, and they'll have the different events that you can go to around the country and actually around the world. There are a few less internationally, but there are international chapters. But really, the predominance of the WIMCO communities are within the U.S., and they do a lot of really good things. And South Carolina and the D.C. chapter, we've got some really strong WIMCO communities where women can find, opportunities to participate, and they really have done a great job. Really interesting events that have attracted hundreds of people. So it's not just a small event. They really put together some really engaging lectures and speakers and activities. So definitely check out that. And if for some reason you don't see or you want to be engaged more, like I said, we're looking to expand. There is a link on the site within the WIMCO section of 7x24Exchange International. Feel free to leave a message and someone will get back to you.
And here's something else too about WIMCO. I know I've done it in the past and several other folks that I know have too, but there's a nice mentorship program and there's also scholarships available. So, if you're really trying to reach that younger audience, that's a good way to do that and have some of that college burden paid for. But certainly in this industry, there's a lot more jobs that you don't necessarily have to have a 4-year degree. And there's apprenticeship programs all over the country right now because there's a huge shortage in skilled trades. And the scholarship, that's a big part of it. We've talked a little bit in this podcast series about infrastructure masons and, now scholarships available here. And I think that's one place that people sort of forget to look when they look at scholarships. They reach out to a college and the college knows this or that, but they don't necessarily know about all these other scholarships. And I know that we've had some recent graduations out of the WIMCO chapter, girls that have got their engineering degrees or their construction degrees using these scholarship funds. So it's really nice to see that next generation of talent come up.
Right. So a couple of things to check out. We do have some of the scholarships and information and mentorship information. And most, if not all of the chapters offer some type of scholarship typically that they give away, that they're looking for people to submit for. So again, another reason to check out the chapters is maybe you have someone or know of someone who might be interested in a scholarship that would be within those areas. And then the mentorship program, what's nice is you can register online. There's more information, again, on the 7x24exchange.org website. So I really encourage people to check out the websites for 7x24Exchange. Again, there's materials there. And another thing that we're looking to do is really, this is with International Data Center Day, is really make that a collective resource for the industry where we would house all the scholarships, all the different opportunities, and really make that a collective and not just the 7x24Exchange of what we know, but really what's available from the industry. So as folks who may be listening are involved with other organizations, I encourage you to go to the internationaldatacenterday.org site and reach out to 7x24 and share your scholarships or share any other opportunities to engage that younger audience. We really want that to be a collective resource for the industry.
A lot of these WIMCO events, they're not just limited to women. I think that's kind of a misnomer with some of the women's associations. These are open to everybody. And some of the most active participants, believe it or not, are dads with young girls that really want to see a difference in the industry and, have career paths for their daughters because that's what they've done. And, I've gotten a couple mentees out of some of these events where dads have come along and just said, "Hey, can you talk to my daughter? Can you help her out?" And I think the willingness to help out of this WIMCO community has been pretty amazing amongst all of the women that I know, not just helping peer to peer, but really, really working with that next generation.
It is. And, we're going to be doing more to amplify that message. And then again, as we have successes and we document those, we'll be looking to share them. It is hard from the standpoint of, if you're doing a search or trying to find a scholarship, they don't come up readily like in a simple search as to where's the best place to find unique scholarships. So the more we can share with high schools and the more we can get schools engaged and communities, I think the stronger we'll be to let people know that these opportunities exist. So we really want people to share this information.
You're a good example. You started out in insurance, which is a long way from companies that make generators and bulldozers. So
right. And again, I go back to that's really part of our overarching goals is how do we engage this younger audience? How do we make men, how do we include them and ensure that, we have these advocates? And with the Me Too, I've heard from folks that some people aren't as comfortable as maybe they have been in the past to mentor women or, have that level of relationship. And there's, what I would say to those people is you need to understand that while this has maybe created some sensitivity, mentor as a group, there's a lot of different ways to handle it so that it doesn't have maybe the same pressure. Everybody's got to be comfortable in this. And, people want to do the right thing and they have an interest. And where there's a will, there's a way. And, as men as advocates, one of the things that as we look at that is how do we create men as sponsors for women? Because there's a key topic that I wanted to chat about with you, Carrie, and that is the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. We hear a lot about mentorship, and this is something I wish I had maybe known when I was younger, back in the day. And that is that, mentors are people who are there for you, who you can seek out advice. They think a great deal of you typically. They're really someone who can provide support and, who you can bounce ideas off of or ask, if you're seeking some wisdom. A sponsor is someone when a job comes open or there's an opportunity within your organization, they're putting your name forward. And it's across maybe, so I work in a larger organization and maybe it's across divisions, depending on the size of company or organization that you work in. So it's really understanding, who is your backers, and it also depends on what your goals are. At the end of the day, everyone doesn't need to be the CEO or have that aspiration. But if you have specific aspirations, really start to identify who are your sponsors, who are going to help you get to the next level or the next job that you would like, and really not be afraid to find those people.
And that's really important because if there's all kinds of websites where you can go throw your resume up there, and that's not going to guarantee that anybody's going to look at it. And, there's been study after study will tell you that, that's not always the best way to get a job. The best way to get a job is through networking. And those are the people, those sponsors that are going to step up and say, hey, I know this person. And in a lot of cases in this industry, there's not really the exact skill set you're looking at or looking for, but there's very parallel skills that make it easy for somebody to step up. And if you take an interest in somebody and an interest in their career, they're going to be a much more loyal employee anyway.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the WIMCO effort, just from the standpoint of we've gotten people to be able to speak on the main stage who maybe wouldn't have gotten an opportunity otherwise. People have gotten promotions, new jobs. So I've been able to celebrate that with people. They've come back up to me and, shared what's happened based on their engagement with this community. And you really touched on a very important factor with regards to WIMCO. WIMCO is not just for women. WIMCO is an opportunity for women to engage and interact, but it's also an opportunity to have men who are advocates be part of this group. We are not just having events and different things, activities or speakers that are just for women. Really, the goal of WIMCO is to provide women this additional opportunity, an opportunity to engage in an atmosphere that's comfortable to them. But it also is an opportunity, just as you said, for men who see that they want their daughters to be treated maybe in a little bit better way or have more opportunities than maybe what they see that the women have now. And they're very heavily engaged, and we want that to happen. So you will see sometimes as much as 25% of the people who attend the WIMCO events are men. And we encourage that, again, just because that's how we view this. It's not just a women-only event. It's really about increasing diversity and really focusing on inclusion, because ultimately we'd like to see WIMCO go away, where everyone's viewed just strictly on how they perform, and there's not some of these unconscious biases that occur.
That brings up a really good point. It is an active decision to make a difference. And talk to people throughout my career, and I'm sure you have too, where they want to make a difference, but as soon as it gets difficult, they just, throw their hands up and say, oh, well, never mind. And it's the people that are really, like you said, being advocates. They're making it a conscious effort to step up to the plate. And, I know the last WIMCO event I was at the national conference, there was a guy there with his daughters, which was really refreshing and cool to see that he's bringing that level of exposure to his kids, because they probably would not get that level otherwise. That's where it's important, to surround yourself by other people, because anybody that's in this industry that is our age has reinvented themselves at least once, because, this wasn't an industry to start out when we all started. So surrounding yourself with people that can be uplifting and positive and supportive, I think really is key, because you still get to do, since you're on the marketing side, you still get to play with the art stuff that you like. It just happens to be for a technology related, science related company, and some of the cool things that are happening. And now even that whole power industry is shifting again to sustainability and environmental concerns, and it's reinventing itself in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've read, while it's not always comfortable to sit down and think, especially I think as women that may feel opportunistic, or, maybe someone won't want to do that for me. And the thing that I would encourage is that if if there's something that you think that you would be good at or desire, take the time and the effort and network with people and let them know that you have an interest in what your skill sets are, and really be able to define what your value is that you bring. And that's another key thing that I think that people need to do as they look to maybe change careers or start a new career, or even if you're younger, what is the unique value that you would bring to a position?
And you're really a great example of reinventing yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey starting at State Farm through where you are now at Caterpillar and being vice president of 7x24.
I went from State Farm, insurance, financial services. I was a fire adjuster into basically, they called it e-channel, but it's their internet community and marketing with that. And then went to electric power. And that was a pretty big jump and a pretty big change. But I've always had a great love of science. So I think it goes back to, and this is where you were talking about parallel skills. I've always had a strong aptitude for science. I love science. I couldn't decide art and science, which way do I go? So this is a nice combination of both. I learn about different things. I like change a lot. So it's always, what can I learn next? So look at what what do you like? What do you enjoy? And if you do, that eventually will come through. You might get a lot of no's, but always remember, no is not now. There's always another door. You might have to knock on quite a few of them, but, get comfortable with people telling you no and go after what.
Well, that's where those advocates really come to play, right? Somebody that can fly your flag with somebody else and say, hey, look, this would be a great opportunity. I was talking to Nancy Novak over at Compass Data Centers on an earlier podcast, and she talked about how they've really made it a conscious effort. It started out not that way, but they now have made it a conscious effort to pick people out of the trades, women in particular, and turn them into construction project managers. A lot of them don't have degrees, but she said that they are excelling. And I get to interview a couple of them soon on a future podcast, which will be fun to hear their perspective of how they've learned. But it's really that advocacy thing that matters. It's the taking the time, taking the initiative, caring enough to really put somebody forward and make a difference in somebody's life. And for anybody that's not had a mentee or not really been in a position to be that advocate, I'm going to tell you, it's like the best feeling in the world to know that you made a difference to somebody.
Right. And Carrie, I think you touched on a really good point. What's interesting is when I graduated from college, really, a lot of my positions didn't even exist when I graduated. It has changed that much from a technology standpoint. So it's interesting because I'm working on e-commerce. E-commerce was not a thing when I graduated from college, and yet that's what I do day to day. So the thing I would say is people are looking for a job change or is to be adaptable. Look at what those parallel skill sets are. And don't be afraid to try something new. But again, you may get a lot of no's, but you just need one door to open to find that success.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I will say for sure that I know that this whole organization is very receptive to great ideas. That's kind of where the International Data Center Day came from. If you're out there and you're listening and you have really great ideas or things to think about, I encourage you to get involved locally in your chapter and certainly make suggestions on the website, because this whole organization listens very well.
Carrie, it really does. I mean, again, I go back to WIMCO has been very special to me for that very reason. It wasn't something I initially thought, can't wait to start a women's group. It's just like I felt that there was a need, and to see the positive things and change that's occurring because of that is the energy I need to keep going and, keep looking to expand that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to want to talk a little bit about that. It's really one of our goals. So like Carrie said, we want to hear what you have to say. Whatever we can do to really start and just add on to what we're doing is we're very open to.
Well, Julie, we are pretty close to the end of our time here. Are there any parting words you want to leave folks with?
The data center industry is very unique, and it's really been, I feel very fortunate to have kind of stumbled upon it through my career at Caterpillar. And I look forward to watching it grow and watching that younger audience come into play.
Yeah, it's nice to watch the fire spark and the light bulbs come on, for sure. Julie, I want to thank you for your time. There will be a link to 7x24Exchange and also to the International Data Center Day site in the description for this podcast. I hope you guys take the time to get involved and see what chapters you have locally around you. Or, if you don't have a local one, definitely see about going to the national events. They really put on a good event. I got to say, Bob does a great job. For those of you listening, I'll also provide links. Check out 7x24exchange.org. That'll have information to the conferences. There's also a link to the WIMCO site off of that. And then for those of you that want to participate in the International Data Center Day, there's information on internationaldatacenterday.org. We look forward to having you on a future podcast. Thanks again for listening. And Juli, thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Carrie.